to the Circuit of the Americas, and what a difference 20 seconds makes. Quite literally. A minute ago, it was all dark and gloomy and somewhat cloudy, but now it's lifted. And as you can see, a beautiful, resplendent look at the Circuit of the Americas. And talking of beautiful and resplendent, I was going to introduce Adam Andretti, but I'll introduce the cars instead. But Adam will do. Adam Andretti joins me once again. Sadly, he didn't get to finish his TA race, but he's delighted to join me for a bit of history in the making, the largest field we've ever had. And look at this site. I watched the pre-grid earlier in the weekend, and it is a sight for sore eyes to see this many TA2 cars. And we talk about a championship that was invented in 1966, and here we are in 2022 with over 50 cars entered in this race alone.
The health of Trans Am is strong, and we're looking great in the series. And TA2 is just one piece of the puzzle. We just finished the race that you just got done calling and that I was participating in, and there was 27 total cars in that. So it's really, really outstanding health of the Trans Am series. It shows what a fantastic job the Perella Motorsports Holding Group has done, and you know, all the pieces of the puzzle that get put together, and everyone at the Trans Am Race Company, and being led by John Claggett, and it's just amazing growth, and it's just so great, and I feel so privileged to be a part of it, and I know you do as well, Jonathan. So it's just really and here at COTA, it seems to just draw us to it, right? Like Circuit of the Americas is one of those tracks. It's become very quickly one of those tracks that everybody that drives a race car wants to have a chance to compete at.
Here's a question I've been itching to ask you since I realized how big a field this, and my knowledge of the Circuit of the Americas, since I've pretty much done every race that's ever been here since 2012. And I'm used to doing Formula One and MotoGP, and you're very familiar with both. If you were mid-pack for this race, that would be, or even further down. Let's say you were 40th on the grid, just for the hell of it. As we take a look at the championship, I'm going to get to that in a moment. But here's the championship points, and it really is hotting up because Rafa Matos leads and really only needs to kind of get round and finish in the top 20 for the championship to be his. But because he didn't get the pole yesterday, which would have put him literally a lap away, or a one lap led away from winning the whole thing. Things are still open, so Conor Mosak's still in the hunt, some plus 30 points behind. Thomas Merrill in pole. He picked up the 3 points and now is 2 points behind Mosak. And Brent Cruz, 223. It doesn't get any closer than that, does it?
No, it does not. And you know, Thomas Merrill, job's easy, right? He's our, well, on paper it's easy. The job's never easy out there in TA2, but he did what he had to do already. He sat the thing on pole, keeps him alive in the championship. And, you know, anything can happen in these races, Jonathan Green, as we've seen time and time again. And the last thing, I know that Rafa's going to be playing the safe game. The last thing Rafa wants to do is put this himself in either harm's way, but more importantly, he doesn't want to put any decisions in the hands of the stewards.
Yeah,
you know,
good point.
That we saw that last round at VIR, and the stewards don't want that opportunity. Trust me, none of the stewards, not
No.
David Hoots, nobody in that booth wants to be in that opportunity that they have to make a call like that. So I think Rafa's big game here for 100 miles is going to be just that, making sure that he's perfectly clean. You got a guy here like we're on board with Cameron Lawrence in the Franklin Road Apparel Chevrolet Camaro. This is his home track. He is super fast here. He busted off a great qualifying lap yesterday, put him in P5. I look for really strong things out of Cameron Lawrence today too.
Yeah, good call. He's done more laps than probably anybody around here. A couple of stories I want to draw your attention to. Scott Borchetta had a problem yesterday.
Yeah, he lost an alternator wire in qualifying. So honestly, he was like in practices P2, P3, and really showing great pace. And I had talked with him. We were talking just before he qualified. I was like, man, you're my pick. And I guess I didn't know you could do the commentator's curse and not be in the commentary booth, Jonathan Green, because I feel like I gave the poor guy a curse, and he went out there and burned up the alternator wire. But that group there at Big Machine and Spiked Coolers, that race team over at Borchetta Racing, they're a really competent group of people, amazing group of people. So they got him sorted, and he's ready for 100 miles today. I'll look for him to come through the field.
You know, I was looking at that Nashville race where you and he were wheel to wheel for quite a few laps, and thinking that was really the day that Scott Borchetta kind of stepped up. I remember thinking he's taken on the likes of Andretti and the front runners, and from there on in, his confidence has grown, and he has got podiums, and he has just looked so sharp in the second half of the season.
He works really, really hard at it, and he is relentless. He has got a relentless focus. It's how he's built his business. He built his race team no different, and he's taken his approach to his driving no different. I got a ton of respect for Scott Borchetta and all that effort that he puts in. I know what it takes. It takes a lot of hard work, and you know, he's willing to do it. He's been racing on and off since he was a young kid, so it's not like he just started this. But previous winners here, Rafa Matos really has dominated here of late, and I tell you, his race pace is about a half a second or more faster than his race pace was here last year. So Rafa will be tough to beat again here this year.
Yeah, of course, your old teammate looking for back-to-back championships and a third. I remember when he started his quest to win in Trans Am TA2, and he won at Road Atlanta, and from there on in, he was a shoo-in. He went to Silver Hair, came back to three-dimensional services, and, well, once again, as you can see from the points table, Rafa Matos first in the championship with 256, 2 race wins. The surprising thing for Rafa this year is the fact that he hasn't dominated. He's had 5 podiums, but he hasn't had the dominant season we've seen in his other 2 championships.
Well, let me throw out a couple of names, right? Brent Cruz,
right?
You know, he's stolen definitely a few, and Mike Skeen has come in like a thunderstorm when he's come in and really shook things up. So absolutely, I think Rafa really has had to, you know, I would say, argue maybe even more competition. The TA2 field is deep as it's ever been. I'd say it's 12 cars deep easy that can win these races. So I think it's just a product of where the TA2 championship is. And Rafa, in his classic style, he knows how to win championships. He's done it his whole life. And so no matter what adjustments have to be made, he can, one of the best at making those adjustments to pull these things off. So, but, you know, it's not over yet. There's 100 miles left of racing. These are mechanical pieces of equipment, as I easily found out. So we're on board here with Adrian Vlastowski and his Hawk Performance Brake package.
Let me just give a quick shout out before we get to the start. Thomas Annunziato, his first race here in Trans Am for Nitro Motorsports, teammate to Brent Cruz, qualified brilliantly in his first ever. Used to go karting with Brent Cruz, and now he's with the big boys here. So a lot of thoughts going his way. Good luck, Thomas, in his first major race. He does the Miatas usually, and looking forward to a big race here at Trans Am. We're 2 by 2 as they head towards Andretti corner. I have an Andretti alongside me, just as it should be, for our Trans Am TA2 grand finale of 2022. The backmarkers trying to get up there as quickly as they can, because they're going to miss out on the acceleration as we watch the 2 leaders, Thomas Merrill and Rafa Matos. Matos on the left-hand side, Merrill on the right in pole. They're side by side as they start to get ready to accelerate up the hill. A beautiful sound of 50-plus cars heading up the hill as away we go. Tyler Casera looks to the inside. Merrill tries to hold off the silver hair car of Connor Zillage. Oh, no!
That's Dylan Archer spun around. Yeah, Dylan Archer spun around there up at turn 1. I don't know if he got any help there, but on board here with Cameron Lawrence as he's fighting tooth and nail with the likes of Mike Skeen and Thomas Annunziata.
Yeah, that's a good start from Annunziata in the 90, sponsored by the Nerd drink, the same thing, the Nerd Focus drink that Natalie Decker uses in NASCAR, and got that from her. Austin Green, we're on board with him. He's part of the three-dimensional group. They're trying him out as well, another youngster. He's got a great history, of course, from NASCAR. His dad raced there, but he is just 21. Took to racing quite late, but of course has been, like yourself, from a racing family. And there's damage, it looks like, to the Annunziato car, because look, you take a look.
Damage to our championship contender, Rafa Matos, our championship leader. He's got a left rear fender that's coming off of the 88 car. So, wow, this is an outrageous turn of events. Now, Thomas, if I was on the radio with Thomas, you got one of the best in the world there in front of you, Mike Skeen. Take what you can learn from you. See the fender flapping in the wind on the 88 car. So they are just praying down at Peterson Racing that this doesn't equal a black flag violation.
Well, you know what? Yeah, this is deja vu all over again, because Alonso went through this in Formula One a couple of weeks ago. You know, there was talk about whether he should come in, shouldn't come in. There was damage to another car. An end plate was damaged. It went off, but Alonso hit the wall heavily. But eventually that mirror came off. What's your take on whether they'll bring him in?
Well, this is the last thing that Peterson Racing wants to see. Last thing Rafa Matos wants to see hanging in his mirror there is that deal. But, you know, it'll all depend. I mean, this is one of those sketchy areas. Do you bring him in and sacrifice the track position now that we're under full course caution? Just rip that fender off and not let it be a problem when they go back green. This is going to be a challenging decision for.
What would you do?
the Peterson Racing Group. Me personally, this early in the race with Rafa's pace, his chances to get into the top 20 would be pretty easy.
Right.
I would come in and rip the fender off. And again,
especially under caution, right?
Well, you remember what we talked about, not leaving any decision up to the stewards?
Yeah, good point.
I just, they're not going to let that thing flap in the wind for really all that long. So either bring him in, throw some tape on him, get it right back out there.
Well, the caution is because Archer's come back out into a precarious position. He's basically almost at the apex of turn 1. So Dylan Archer, a Texan from Keller in Texas, just joined the Showtime team, but he didn't have time to put a show on, unfortunately, and we're on board there with Dylan. We were going to see some great onboard shots. Not the shot we wanted to, but that's the only time we're going to see it, because he's going to be back to the pits very soon. But you've got a feel for the FPEC team. He's just joined Showtime and really wanted to put a show on here in the final race. But we're under caution.
Heart goes out to Dylan Archer, and he's got awesome support from Alan Davison and FPEC, that food processing equipment company, and so they're looking forward to 2023, as so many of us are, and so this is just a real shame to watch them end their day like this. I hope it's not ended. I hope he get out there and at least make those laps and get that experience, because that's ideal for him. He needs to just get that seat time, and that's all this game is all about, is seat time, seat time, seat time. And we're on board with the youngster here of Evan Slater. They give a shout out to him. He's doing a heck of a job here. Had a great qualifying run, and
he was the one that surprised me out of qualifying. And I talked to the team afterwards, and after first free practice, he was up there, and they said all systems go. He likes this place. He's on it. We're feeling good about this weekend, and that's really good news, because Evan Slater, another one of the young guns. Incidentally, talking of the young guns, Connor Mosack is in a big battle with Brent Cruz for the young guns. Effectively foundation money of over $20,000. Brent Cruz already winning the rookie standings, but in the young guns, it's Connor Mosack who leads with 228 to 223, so very close indeed. And Evan Slater, incidentally, hasn't got enough points to beat either of those two, but he's going to be a solid third, and Archer had been fourth, but he's out of the race, as you saw, as we go back on board with Scott Borchetta. Borchetta currently in 14th position. Ced Jr. also out there behind Borchetta. What a moment for this young man. Boris Ced Jr. And yes, if you recognize the name, it is Boris's kid. And he does have the same curly hair. They're almost like little mini-me, isn't he?
Yep, got the curls and all, for sure. And the talent behind the wheel. So, he's got a lot going for him, this youngster. But, so on board there with Boris Ced Jr. He's right behind Scott Borchetta again. For this youngster, not a bad guy to be behind. We just got done talking about Scott's exploits and how far along he's come and how good he is in a TA2 car. Not a bad person to be behind at this point. Back to Evan Slater. He must have had an issue earlier, because he's dropped all the way back to 45th position. And Brent Cruz has worked his way up to 41st position from having to start shotgun on the field because of a problem that he had in qualifying. So we look for Brent Cruz to continue to keep climbing up through that pack too. And you've got a little shout out to Tyler Sharin, group over there. They're coming in for the first time, and I know that it was big encouragement from Mike Skeen, the great Mike Skeen, to encourage them to come race in our paddock. And I think they're having a great time there with Jimmy Frazier and the gang, and just out there having a great time in TA2 as one of the best paddocks in all of motorsports you'll find anywhere is Trans Am.
You mentioned Brent Cruz. Brent Cruz was suffering from flu when he came in, was really trying to, down the fluids as you do when you're ill like that. So he's been under the weather physically, but he obviously didn't get a time in qualifying. So that must be a mechanical, because he had been out there up until that point.
Yeah, I think they had a steering failure is what I understood. I'm not 100% on what that is, so I don't want to get too misquoted on that or sell everyone on that fact. But the Nitro Motorsports, Nick Tucker and the crew over there, they do an amazing job. They get a lot of attention for that work that they do, and we're going to see them bring in a lot of talent over the next season and upcoming seasons through TRD and their development program. So it's going to be exciting at Nitro Motorsports. Really keep your eye out, the fans, for what the kind of talent's going to be coming through there. And speaking of talent, Adrian Vlastowski, just love, one of the great additions, one of the greatest people that we have in our paddock, and a fast racer too. He's had a rough year, some of the worst luck you can imagine.
Yeah.
And I know he's just waiting to get forward and get through 2022 and just get to 2023. But he wants to have a great race and a good day here today. And so far, not so bad. He's sitting there in P12 right behind the great Tony Ave here in the number 30 car for BC Race Cars.
Now, let's just give you we've got one more lap under caution, and that gives us a chance to give you the runners and riders as we stand. Thomas Merrill, the poleman, leads from Connor Zilic. You've got a good start. Mike Skeen, who's already been a winner in IGT today, is in third place for the three-dimensional services team. Goikberg, the BC Cars Canadian, in fourth position. Then the young 17-year-old Annunziato in fifth place, ahead of Cameron Lawrence, who's already been a Trans Am champion. So he's got his work cut out because the champion himself, Rafa Matos, is seventh. Then comes in eighth position another great story, 21-year-old Nathan Hearn, the TA2 champion from Australia and currently living in Melbourne. And I know you're watching down in Australia, Dan, there, and cheering him on. Spoke to him briefly, and he is so tickled pink to be here, and we wish him well, because it's great to have such an interest in muscle cars here and have the champion from Australia. Really good deal, and he's up in eighth in his first run out. Austin Green, another youngster, is ninth. Tyler Casera, top 10. Tony Harvey jumps back in his own car. He's in 11th position at the moment. Adrian Lostowski, who you just talked about, is in 12th. But what a great story to open it up to the rest of the world. I know New Zealand and Australia have a big interest in muscle cars for their own supercar interest, but also in the American muscle cars.
I love that, and I love the fact that Nathan Hearn's so excited to be here at Circuit of the Americas when every American driver he's sharing the track with just wishes we were at Bathurst.
Yeah. Well, here's the funny story. He's jumping. No, but here's the funny story. He's jumping in. He's jumping on a plane on Tuesday night. He'll get back Thursday morning to go and do Bathurst.
Boy, we're all envious. We're all envious of that young man. But awesome, great to have him around. And yeah, big shout out to the fans down under. And he's doing you all proud up here. This is no joke. I was talking with Thomas Merrill about this. The TA2 is some of the best drivers in the country, in the world. Yeah, it's no joke. I mean, you get to the pointy end of this field, you look at Thomas Merrill, Connor Zilic. Connor Zilic is a world champion in karting.
Yeah.
It's one of the hardest things to do, and we have 3 world championships in karting, I think, with him and Brent Cruz, between the two of them. So, I mean, just awesome, amazing stuff there. You got Mike Skeen, Rafa Matos, Misha Goikberg. I mean, these Cameron Lawrence, these are names that you have to beat. These are tough, tough racers. And when you come in here and you're running 8th, amongst that group, that's incredible work. And it's also a great hats off to Stevens Miller and the cars that they prep to put on the racetrack.
Yeah, we'll be keeping a close eye on the movements of Brent Cruz, currently in 41st position. Connor Mosack moving up the field. He's also made some good moves right at the start of this race, and we're keeping an eye on Mosack, of course, as they fight it out for the Young Guns top man. But we're about to go racing again, single file this time, as Merrill will lead the flight. The man from Salinas looking to win the championship if he can. It's going to be tough. He always knew that, but he's in the best position of all to do it. He's accelerating away now up the hill. And now if you want to overtake, now's the time. Matos looking to the inside with that bodywork still flailing at the back there. They haven't pulled him in. More drama as touching comes together again. Rafa Matos in the wars, and he knows it. He's losing places. He's lost out to Hearn and to Annunziato. They both got ahead of him, and Matos struggling here. He's doing everything he can, but oh no! That was a bit too rough there, and Annunziato knows he's in the thick of it because he just came together with a three-dimensional services car. He's now going sideways. There's Misha Goikberg. I'll let you call that because was that too rough?
I just honestly think it was side-by-side racing. I think Cameron just maybe got a little touch with the 87 of Mike Skeen. Mike Skeen went off track. Cameron gave up the position, actually lost more than that after it. So I don't believe the stewards will need to review that anymore. I don't think it was a no harm, no foul type thing. As Misha's popping on Mike Skeen there, looking at the inside, and this is looking like a heck of a battle. This is TA2 war, Jonathan Green. This is what we talk about when we talk about the war that is TA2.
This is a Formula One design circuit, but it looks as like it was built for Trans Am. Now that damage to Rafa Matos is looking worse. This is Austin Green we're looking at, but Matos' car is looking bad. Lostowski gets past Green, but Matos is the one I'm worried about. Austin Green effectively making his debut in his 3rd chassis of the season, I may add. So he's tried everyone out, but Austin Green will not be happy with that because obviously if that gets any higher, he's going to have to pull in. But the one that worries me, we only got a quick glimpse of it, was Rafa Matos, because now the back end of that car is ripped off, and maybe he might do an Alonso here and just get rid of the mirror, and in his case get rid of the rear fender, because it's not looking good. But Matos, there you see, going wide there.
That's Austin Green.
That's
that went
Green,
wide
yeah.
there, and he's got Tony Ave just hunting him down. And then look at that, Tony Ave looked like he got into
the back of him, man, yeah.
Yeah, you know, and but yeah, Austin there. I think where this damage came for Austin, he was trying to avoid his teammate, the championship leader, there on that restart. And I didn't get to see all of it, but I think there was really close chance for him to make contact with either the 88 or with somebody else, and he chose somebody else wisely, I believe. I believe he chose the 90 car, as I see a left rear fender hanging off the 90 car of Thomas. So I believe that might be what we're looking at. Misha is on a charge. As he just dove underneath.
Very good indeed.
Dove underneath Mike Skeen for the position.
So Skeen starting to get the hurry up. He's side by side with Goikberg now as they come under the bridge. Tyler Casera getting past Cameron Lawrence for a moment. Look at this, side-by-side action between these two. Goikberg doing a great job. The Canadian holding him off, but now comes back the youngster. Thomas Annunziato getting into the thick of it all. He's now got Tyler Casera there as well.
Yeah, and we were told in the driver's meeting they can't have all four below that white line. Now, I believe he might get a warning for that first, but Misha better be careful because he was clearly using up a little bit more of the S's than what they want us to use as a stewards. And remember what I said earlier in the race?
Oh,
they don't
want yellow, Barry Bowes.
Barry
Nasty
Bowes.
shunt into the wall there, and a back end hit heavy.
That looks like the S's.
Adam Andretti, the racing is superb.
It's unbelievable, isn't it, Jonathan Green?
Oh, catching our breath here. I'm almost glad there is a caution. I feel for the local man, Barry Bowes, and the ASIO data on board that we were looking at, but sadly he's out of the race. We'll find out what exactly happened to him. But Barry Bowes stuck heavily into the back end there. What kind of damage do you think that'll do to the rear? Certainly not going anywhere, is he?
Yeah, and that's the thing, too. These five-star bodies are kind of designed to break apart, take some energy away. So it looks a lot worse than I think what it really is. It's probably mainly cosmetic with a little bit of maybe, you know, like bumper damage, you know, steel bumper damage and stuff like that. But I don't think he's too worse for wear, but he's probably stuck there, and that would be the problem. Oh, wow, we got right here, yeah. That's...
So as we get under caution, we're going to take a break from this absolutely frenetic action. Adam Andretti and Jonathan Green bringing you the action from COTA. Stay with us here, and we'll be right back.
Speed, endurance, desire. For 160 years, Motul has helped engines and drivers go faster, further, and stronger. Tested in the heat of battle, driven with passion. With one aim, to give you superior powertrain protection and performance. Motul.
Welcome back to the Circuit of the Americas for the final hurrah of TA2 2022. Rafa Matos, we're on board with him, but he's got all sorts of issues he's dealing with. I'm with one of his former teammates in Adam Andretti, and this is not an easy time. It doesn't matter how much of a good season you've had. When it comes down to the final race, and you have drama in every respect, from young guns trying to make a name for themselves to guys who could win the championship and take it all away from you, this will be the worst situation for Rafa. He's a cool cucumber by anybody's means in terms of how he stays calm, and he's always been good at that. But this is not easy. He's got a broken car, and he's not where he wants to be on track.
Exactly, and he is a very focused individual. You said it right there. But also, I also know what might be going through his head is every time they've dropped the green here to start or restart this race, he sustained damage of some sort. So, like, I know that stuff just works in the back of your head. No matter how hard you try not to have it there, it's there. So the last thing he honestly wanted to see was a caution and another restart. I'm almost sure of it. Just sitting there and making sure that he's in his spot that he needs to be in to secure this championship is ideal. Knowing that he's getting the radio call, or he's at least asking what's going on with the 26 car of Thomas Merrill. And Thomas is up there just laying it down and is on just an absolute tear, and his car just looks straight hooked up. And Scott Borchetta is moving through the field, as I said. For that youngster to be behind Scott Borchetta, he's, you know, as Boris said, Jr., tag onto the back end of him and try and see if he can go along. Unfortunately, wasn't able to stick with them, the kid, but he's got Adrian Vlastowski behind him now. Borchetta does. Tony Ave's cracked into the top 10 in that BC Race Cars number 30 car. And then, you know, Tyler Casera has climbed up through the field too. Wonderful job he's doing. Yeah, it is. Very good to see him. Good hustle. He got hustled back over the transporter. And then Nathan Hearn, our Australia story, on the top 3 right now. That's awfully impressive out of the youngster.
Yeah, really looking forward to see what he can do in his first race. What a thrill to come to the Circuit of the Americas, to represent Australia, and also to be here as the champion. He also races Formula 5000, so you know you've done a bit of single-seater racing in your own time, and those things are like Formula 1 cars on acid. Those things, they're brilliant. And so he knows what he's doing, that's for sure, does the 21-year-old Nathan Hearn. Nathan Hearn, I will get his right. He's from Leesmore, Australia, but now lives in Melbourne.
And for you Dylan Archer fans out there, you saw him. He's out circulating. He's 52nd, but he is on the lead lap still, as they didn't get a whole lot of racing going there. So a shout out to Bruce Nesbitt back here and Tim Gray. They're out there in the Masters class doing their thing, having a great time. Bruce is just one of the all-time great people to be around, and to see his face is fantastic. Keith Prochuk has had to make his way up from the tail of the field as well, and he's climbing up through, as Michelle Abate is as well, up to P38. Brent Cruz, for all the Brent Cruz fans out there, he's climbed his way up to 35th position, so he is steadily making his way up through the field as well.
Yeah, Connor Zilic is one to watch for sure, because it'd be interesting to see what he can do. He's had an up-and-down season. He's still such a youngster, just 16, and he's already been Austin Green.
Yeah, he's just making sure he's giving them plenty of space on that side. And
they pulled off the
hood.
The hood there. No problem?
Just a lot less aero efficiency, but you know, a TA2 car is not known for its aero efficiency, so it's not going to be the worst thing in the world, I'm afraid. But you know, cosmetically and things like that are going to be the biggest thing. Aero probably be nice and cool. The engine will stay nice and cool, but yeah, Connor Zilic is another one of those great young talents that we have here, and he's right in the thick of it for that young gun title. And you know, his biggest protagonist for that, Connor Mosack, is marred down in P16. Not typical of Connor Mosack to be down in that position. So again, he's been slowly and steadily climbing up through the field. Elias Anderson, he's also in the top 15. That's another great story as well to have him along. And another young Carter, I believe Josh Sarchette is another young Carter here doing this thing. So this is this great field of talent here in the TA2 class.
And Adam, since you've been involved in Trans Am, you've seen this tradition as I have, this transition as I have in Trans Am, where the young guns, the young kids, and we're helping with rookie cups and young guns trophies for money, but it really is becoming a place where guys can jump out of a Miata, as several of these have guys, or karting, and come here and race with the big boys, but learn to race in a good, clean environment and really learn their racecraft in their teens to potentially look at anything from there on in. You mentioned Zilic, a former kart champion, but here he is in Trans Am. Likewise, Ben Cruz. They could have gone to single-seaters, but they're here.
Absolutely, and it just shows what the strength of road racing and GT racing is around the world. I mean, we're seeing the big growth in all of GT racing, and this is, you said it best, Jonathan Green, this is where you learn how to race. Because you have to. You're racing against some of the best in the world, and it is tooth and nail, and no one is giving an inch, as we've clearly seen. We've only been green, I think, for 2 laps here today, and we've just seen a hornet's nest of activity amongst this TA2 field. So when you come in here to do this and learn this and figure this out, you know, and when you finish, I've said all along, when you finish the top 10 in TA2, you're pretty good. Top 5, that's pretty great. A podium is special, and a win, now you've put yourself on the motorsport map.
I'll tell you what, we had our clocks change here on Central Time, but in Australia, wake up, Aussies! You've got one of your own right up there in the top 3, and you need to get the flags out, get the tinnies out, and start cheering this boy on. He's in 3rd place in the number 29, Stevens Miller Racing Ford Mustang, and he's out there in the top 3. I'll bet that...
I just want to see a shoey.
Yeah, he has to do it. If he makes the podium, I'm going to demand a shoey.
We're going to, Ben Sizzle, you're on radio. You know you have to demand a shoey out of this young man. Because I honestly think the way he's driven this race so far, I know it's early stages, but he's smart. And I look for him to go ahead and charge after this win and give a little bit of a headache to these two in front of him. And nobody knows how it is to race against Nathan Hearn. He's watched us.
Yeah.
He's watched, I'm sure he's watched TA2 races. He knows how these guys race.
I met him yesterday and he went, oh, you're the commentator.
But I can almost assure you none of these guys he's racing with have watched his race.
No.
So to know he has an advantage on that. He knows how they race, but they have no idea how he's going to race them, and that's special.
The disadvantage he's got, though, obviously, is he races on Husa tires compared to Pirelli, so that was a big change for him. And also the chassis that he runs, and he's running at Bathurst next weekend. I love this story. There's a book to be written on these 2 weeks for him.
Right.
But yeah, so this is a baptism of fire, but look at him go. What a story it would be if he could hold on.
I mean, he's leading the likes of Misha Goikberg and Mike Skeen, and he's right behind Thomas Merrill and Connor Zilisch. These are household names to Trans Am fans and motorsports fans alone. And, you know, just here in the U.S., if you watch sports car racing, these are the names you know, and for good reason. They are always at the pointy end of the field. They're usually spraying the champagne at the end of the day and putting a trophy on the shelf at home.
Here we go then. We're about to get the restart. We're on board with Rafa Matos, who's got some work to do for sure. Rafa Matos getting into the wars early on in this, but it's Merrill, Zilisch, and Hearn. That's your top three. Then Goikberg, Skeen, and Enciato in 6th place. Then Casera, who's done a good job of getting up to 7th. Lawrence is 8th. Matos down in 9th position. We were just on board with him. He needs a good restart. Tony Arve, though, is right behind him. Former champion and a man who owns one of the teams, of course. We're about to go racing again, and the man from Salinas, California, will lead them away. And the youngster Zilisch is right there with him. And it's Hearn from Australia right there in 3rd place.
And all along, we have to remember, we got a West Coast Championship going down,
exactly.
too. And Holden Motorsports is going for their 2nd season in Trans Am, going for a championship.
Zilisch looks up the inside. Hearn's getting very close. Goikberg all over the back of both of them. Scott Borchetta involved. And one of the three-dimensional cars. It's Rafa Matos, the championship elect. His spun round. Let's hope he's got the motor running. He has. But he doesn't need to get involved with anybody here. And he somehow keeps it going. Big moment. Not a good day so far for the Brazilian.
No, this is exact. I remember what I said about restart, Jonathan Green, and I'm not trying to put a curse on anything. No. It's just this is when it's most intangible, and that poor guy just took a spin right there in turn 1 and watched the field of 50 TA2 cars drive right by. This just made Rafa Matos' day of work a lot harder than what he was expecting.
Especially with Merrill out front, he's going to be licking his chops now because he's leading the race, but he's got a lot of hard charges behind him, so it's not going to be easy for Thomas Merrill. He's been runner-up so many times, and he so wants to be a champion here in Trans Am, and it would make a great story if he could do it right in the final moments of this championship in 2022. He's been there or thereabouts, and every weekend is Thomas Merrill. It just hasn't all fallen together. He's had quite a lot of bad luck. I'm thinking Nashville, where he came in after that first lap and dropped all the way down the field.
What the heck is going on in Peterson Racing cars? The 87 has a hole in the front end right now, and
Austin Green,
all kinds of. No, the 87. That's Mike Skeen.
Skeen's got a hole.
Mike Skeen's got a hole in the front. So the restarts have not been kind to Peterson Racing in the three-dimensional services group.
Not at all. Casera getting Cameron Lawrence all over the back of him for the Franklin Roadman. Right there, we're on board with him now as he comes through 15. This race starting to open up nicely. 8 of the 30 laps gone. The sun coming out here at COTA just at the right time in TA2, the final hurrah of 2022.
I think Thomas has gotten the call that, you know, Rafa struggled because he just dropped the hammer and has opened the gap on Connor Zilisch. I think it's a little bit of that, but also Connor's having to drive out of his mirror. This Nathan Hearn, as we said, no one knows how to race with him, but I tell you what, Nathan Hearn knows exactly how he wants to attack Connor Zilisch, I can assure you that.
Well, if he beats Misha Goikberg, who has got a hit, we've just seen one of the three-dimensional cars pull into the pits. Scott Borchetta goes through, but if he beats Borchetta, Hearn, I'll take my hat off to him because that's no mean feat. Lostowski pushing hard on Mosak, who's coming through the field bit by bit.
I believe that was Mike Skeen. Mike Skeen was our three-dimensional Peterson Racing car that came down pit road here. I can already see Rafa making some headway from the back of the field, so that's a good story that we want to keep up on. And where Rafa Matos is slotted in right now.
Matos is in 31st position, just behind Matt Peralt and John Atwell at the moment. So what a day it's going to be. But, you know, I wouldn't count Rafa from making a top 6 out of this.
No, he needs 11 more spots to get in that magic top 20 for him. So that's all they're focused on. He's not focused on anything more than that. I can assure you, is to get to that moment. And I can promise you, after these starts and restarts, he does not want to see another full course yellow. As we see, these are 2 M1 cars here going at it. Scott Borchetta, Connor Mosack.
Yeah, in fact, Mosack right there in 11th place. He got past Tony Arvid. He's now chasing down Borchetta. So this is a fantastic run from Connor Mosack too, as we go back on board with Scott Borchetta.
Really calm behind the wheel. You see him just relaxed. He took a glance at the mirror. He sees that Connor's in his draft. Connor's hunting for the championship, and these are they're not teammates. And then, you know, Scott's not going to give him anything per se, don't get me wrong. But I don't believe Scott's going to sit there and rub him either, because, you know, Connor's trying to not only seal up the young gun, but he's still in the hunt for the championship. And Rafa has had problems today, obviously. So I'm sure he got a little radio call to be kind to Connor, or he's smart as well. And I'm sure he just was well aware. And then you got Tony Ave right back there, as I mentioned a few times, those beautiful blue BC cars.
Yeah, and a shout out to Connor Mosack. Just got married this weekend.
Oh, good for him. Congratulations.
Not this weekend, but just got married recently.
Yeah, congratulations. Absolutely.
So we'll watch his progress as he tries to make his way through.
Now the fastest laps of the race are coming in. Now that we've gotten a few green laps underneath us, and we got the tire pressures are up to operating temperature. We suffered a little damage on one of the earlier restarts. As you see, the front and the rear of Thomas's number 90 Nerd Focus Ford Mustang there suffered a little bit of damage from Nitro Motorsports. So.
Yeah, that's badly damaged, but he seems to be pedaling fine without it, or without the help of all the aerodynamics he needs. Nathan Hearn's still in third. He's got Goikberg behind him, and Ciato, we just saw there, the 17-year-old in fifth now. Casera up to sixth. Lawrence seventh. Sargé in eighth position. Mosack now in the top 10. He's got by Borchetta, as we saw. He's now in ninth position. Boris Said Jr. still 13th. Barry Bowes, one of the causers of the cautions, is out of this race. Tommy Sheehan in the top 20, he's 16th. Rhett Barco in the Dodge is 17th. Then it's Danny Bender in 18th. Sabato. And there you see confirmation. Said Jr. in his, what I would call his first race, because Virginia, he only had the first corner to deal with, got taken out in that, so he really didn't have a chance to race. So he's really having a baptism of fire here in his second race.
Yeah, this is a much better day for him than his debut last time out at VIR, where there was some entanglement between Rhett Barco and himself. You know, the verdict is still out on whose fault that was. I know that actually Junior suffered a penalty from that. So in the steward's eyes. So for him, though, this is a much better way to go about business. Get all these laps under your belt.
Oh, no!
Rafa's in the wall!
Rafa's in the wall, and that just turns the whole championship three-dimensional. We'll add another dimension, because we've just hit the fourth. That is just the worst possible scenario. But, oh, my word, he's going to try and go for it again. That's at the top of turn 11. Excuse me, that's at 11. He's gone straight on.
I wonder what the heck happened there, but man, that thing is
that's
just
a mess.
That's destroyed. That's absolutely destroyed.
Well, not only that, but given the amount of, or how hard he hit that wall, surely you'd expect fluid to be pouring out of that car, but he'd be lucky if there isn't.
So he was moving through. He's trying to look over the hood right now. You can see him leaning up in the seat, leaning over to the right. He was coming through traffic, so you wonder if it was one of the slower cars as he was fighting through to try and come through that. But man, the look on the Peterson Racing crew says it all.
Oh, this is absolutely, can't see, poor lad.
No, you can see him. He was leaning up in the chair, and everyone behind him is kind of just wondering what to do.
He can hardly steer it.
Yeah, no, this is a real shame. I hate to see this for Rafa. He and I are dear friends, and this is not the way he was looking at the day to go for him.
Well, at this point, you'd have to say if he doesn't make it back to the pits, he could lose this championship.
I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, like, out of all the years that Rafa's driven for Peterson Racing,
suspension.
Oh yeah, out of all the years Rafa's driven for Peterson Racing, I think this is only his third crash.
Yeah.
So it's not like this is typical Rafa Matos behavior.
Oh, absolutely not.
This has been an anomaly, and this is why we race, right? This is absolutely why we go race, because anything can happen. And you and I are motorcycle racing fans. Back in '06, the great Nicky Hayden won the world championship because the great Valentino Rossi,
no one expected
tossed it off. So this is another scenario.
I remember it well.
This is another scenario like that where the great Rafa Matos is having issues.
Meanwhile,
Austin Green.
Austin Green's getting another hood put on. Three-dimensional, trying to just save themselves a real embarrassing day. It's just been awful for them. But the big story is the two-time champion going for back-to-back championships. Rafa Matos is crawling towards the pits here. The man who was a rookie Indy Lights champion and an IndyCar champion, rookie champion, is now in the pits. And surely this is game over for Rafa Matos.
And I'm going to go and find a highlight for Peterson Racing, but Doug Peterson was inaugurated in the Motorsports Hall of Fame in Michigan yesterday, so let's not get all doom and gloom. But I know it's rough here, but a shout out to the owner. I know that's why he's not here this weekend. He was up there in Michigan receiving that great honor. But I know that he is just gutted to watch what's going on with his race team here at Circuit of the Americas.
I'll tell you how cruel motor racing is, and I don't need to tell an Andretti, but I will tell the rest of the audience. This is how cruel motor racing can be. Yesterday, he needed pole position. If he'd have taken pole position, Rafa, and he was, what, a couple of tenths off it, he would have picked up 3 points. That 3 points would have allowed him, just needed one lap of leading a race or being in the top 20. That's all he would have needed to do. He could have cruised round.
So you got
instead,
you got Kyle here and Brian. These are two crew members here that are working real hard. You can see Slick there with the big beard. The engineer, Brian, has his hand on the radio talking to Rafa, no doubt trying to keep him calm. And Jody here working the Sawzall, trying to get everybody, all hands on deck. And I think you're only allowed, they're at their maximum amount of people that they can have. But you're right, the radiator is slammed shut.
It's the front left that worries me. It looks as though the suspension was crushed.
Yeah, they're not going to get any cooling here into the radiator either. See how it's slammed shut? So we're under full course caution, so this is helping them out for sure. It's helping salvage because it's key to stay on the lead lap. Because if he goes a lap down, he cannot gain those spots to get in the top 20. So this is key to get him out there and get him on the lead lap and keep him on the lead lap at least. Make a caution lap, come back in and do more work if you can, because he's getting ready to go a lap down as they are circulating turn 6.
I can't see them getting him out, and I love your glass half full commentary because I can't see him going anywhere. He could hardly steer it. Let's head down to Ben Sissel, and he's with Rafa's team. Let's go to Ben.
Thank you, guys. In the front clip, I'm down here with Ricky Brooks, who's the head of the TA2. Ricky Brooks down here is the head of the TA2. Sorry, we had some audio engineering difficulties, but you can see they're trying their best. This is Rafa Matos that just came in. They've had to cut off the whole front clip. In my hands right here is the whole front clip coming off. It's being overseen right now by Ricky Brooks. It's awesome. Three-dimensional team working tirelessly. They had to free up a lot of stuff in his front end for the radiator clearing. They're desperate to get him just back out there. Obviously, Rafa's going to be slow, but he needs to be out there. We can see fluid leaking from underneath. They're bringing the car back down. Ricky and Tim here from Trans Am are overlooking everything that they're happening, because at any time Ricky can say that the car is not safe to go out there. So here comes Ricky right here. I'm standing right next to him. He is the man with Trans Am that is going to make the decision if he thinks this car is safe enough to go out there. You can clearly see the intake right here, an open intake coming in. They're checking all the fluids. You can see them right here on the master cylinders, topping off the brake fluids. They're trying everything they can to get him back out there under this double yellow just to keep him going. Adam, you were a long time with this team. You can see the franticness at which they're operating. Adam, I don't know what the strategy is here. You're going to have to cover that mathematically. I'm going to send it back to you guys up in the booth to see what you think Rafa Matos' chances are with Thomas Merrill looking so hooked up.
I think the chances are that they're praying for something to happen to the 26th at this point. You don't want to win them that way, but that's the only chance they got. They're a lap down now, and I would be really, really surprised if you know, how this goes and if he's able to maintain some speed. But he's a lap down, so getting in the top 20 is no longer that viable of a goal. Is it still possible? Yes. Remember, I said this is why we race. You never know what's going to happen, and you have to be out there to get it. So Rafa is back out there. He's gonna give it his all. This guy, you know, he's a champion, and he's gonna make it. He's not going to give up, and that's what he has going for him always, is the never give up attitude. So I obviously hope the best for him. But Thomas Merrill is showing that he is unflappable right here. He is on a roll. He's been on a roll this second half of the season. I've had numerous conversations with him about it, and he's feeling it. You know, he's feeling the flow, Jonathan Green.
Well, Rafa is representing three-dimensional services. Well, he's just hit a new dimension, because we are going into the twilight zone when it comes to racing for Rafa Matos. I've never seen anything like that. I thought that car was good and done, but you proved me wrong. You know those guys better than anybody, Adam. And they've got him out there, and as you say, in motor racing, you never say never, because a pile-up at turn one and the restart could be the end of Merrill's day. And I don't want to say that could happen, but you really just don't know, do you? I mean, we weren't expecting Rafa to have, it was one of those days where Rafa could just, if he could just stay out of trouble, he got it.
Yeah, and every time these things went yellow, he was in the thick of and sometimes that happens. Sometimes you're so overly cautious that you end up getting in the mix of things. You know, I've been there, you know, in a championship fight down to the last race. You know, honestly, I was the opposite. I should have been a little more cautious to protect my championship, and I got drove off by lap traffic, and because I was impatient and I didn't want to lose that spot. So you can't, unless you're in the position, you can't describe the amount of pressure you're under and what goes on in your heads. It's not the pressure even necessarily from others. It's the personal pressure. Nobody wants to win that championship more than Rafa Matos in his head. Of course, the whole team in their individual minds wants to win that championship more than anybody, and that's the beauty of our sport, is the passion, is that fight and that desire to fight for every square inch. But that group there at Peterson Racing never tends to surprise me, that's for sure.
Well, we're under caution still here in this amazing finale, but we should be going green now as Thomas Merrill starts to wind it up. He hooks it up now. Zilich behind him. Hearn in third still. Will Goikberg jink out and make the move? Watch out for the fourth place man. It's green flag and away we go.
Thomas
Merrill safely up to the apex. Zilich right there with him. Hearn goes to the outside. Goikberg to the inside.
Thomas did a really good job of covering up, not on purpose, just turning in early. Turn in early for turn one, and it takes that away. As you see, this Scott Borchetta, Tony Ave battle is real.
Yeah, great to see these two going at it. Ave obviously in the seat for the first time this season. And look at this. Another good battle as Conor Mosak coming quickly as he takes on Cameron Lawrence and overtakes him into the next position. So on the move now, Conor Mosak.
That's not over yet. Cameron's going to hang side by side here at the end of the S's. Going to clear in behind Conor Mosak. Maybe try to do the crossover. Get him down here, turn 10.
Over 10, over the apex, side by side, there's no room out there. Mosak's still there though, hanging on the outside.
Big lockup here from Nathan there in P3 coming into turn 11 there, onto the back straightaway as Cameron Lawrence seems to have gotten the better. Oh no, they're still side by side. Conor Mosak using that horsepower, that Ford, moving right on by and right on past.
Well, Scott Lagacy, his wife's just had a baby. Congratulations. Scott not here this weekend, but he'll be watching on, so we're all fingers crossed, toes crossed for all of the Scott Lagacy team as Mosak doing the business here. Meanwhile, the youngster, the 17-year-old in the number 90 Nerd Focus car is side by side with Misha Goikberg.
Wow, great racing through there. And I misspoke earlier. That was a 20 of Josh Sarchette, that was racing with Scott Borchetta. That's another good group of racing. And look at this battle here as Tyler Casera with the Liqui car sticks his nose up into the fight.
Casera now looking as though he wants to have a go at a win. Everybody wants to finish their season on a high. That's motor racing at its finest. You want to go into the winter with a smile on your face, and every one of the 50-plus cars out there today wants that to be their finish. But sadly, for Rafa Matos, it's really not looking that good at all. Merrill completes another lap.
Thomas Merrill is just putting on a clinic here from the front of the field. He has been so solid, and he drives like we all know Thomas Merrill can drive. He's he is one of those top 1%ers that I talk about. I truly have a lot of respect, a ton of respect for Thomas. And not only that, on the racetrack, off the racetrack, comes from an awesome family, second or third generation farmers from Northern California, and just wonderful, wonderful people. Great to be around. Jonathan Green, you and I have spent time with his father and brother out there in Monterey, and just great, great people. So want the best for Thomas and everyone out there, honestly. I consider everybody out there a friend.
You won't believe this. If it finishes this way, as we stand at the moment, we just heard, it's going to be tied for the championship between Rafa Matos and Thomas Merrill. Merrill will take it on the number of race wins.
Yeah, with the number of race wins.
Can you believe that?
That is Trans Am racing at its best. This is TA2 at its best. Austin Green, that 200-mile-an-hour tape is not holding too well to that glass body.
Oh,
how cool! That thing looks so cool, though. Look at all, you see all the suspension working, all the parts doing their thing, and looks like an old modified.
It does. So Rafa Matos doing it old style. He did stock car racing in Brazil before he came over to America, but he's been here some 20 years. It's been a success story ever since, but sadly, it's looking pretty tough out there with the half the race gone and half his car gone. Rafa Matos still circulating.
He can't even get full throttle for some reason. Throttle linkage could be bent or something, but looking at the data that they just showed us, that he's not even able to get full throttle. So he is literally almost got taken out by someone spinning in front of him.
I know.
You cannot write this stuff, Jonathan Green.
I know, this is an absolute, it's agony and ecstasy of motor racing all in one as our champion elect effectively. He was 30 plus leading into the final race and looked odds on to win it. He only needed to get the pole and maybe then lead a lap or two, and it was all his. And now he's just struggling to keep out there. And as you say, he almost got taken out by a spinning car.
And it'll be up to the stewards if they enforce the 110% rule, but he's clearly not going to meet that. He can't even barely break 100 mile an hour down 170 mile an hour back straightaway on normal conditions. So just my heart aches and goes out for those guys. I know how hard they work, and I know what this is meaning to them, and they're hating that. But at the same time, where there is, just total, absolute gutted feeling, they're feeling the pressure over there at Mike Cope Racing, and they're making sure they're on the mic with Thomas. They don't need to be, though. Thomas is that professional. He knows what he's doing. He's at the point of the field. I'm sure if they came on the phone with him, he'd get a little bit of a Kimi Räikkönen response. Leave me alone.
I got this.
I got this.
Scott Borchetti, we were on board. He's in 9th position at the moment. Cameron Lawrence in 8th position, just in front. Tyler Casera in a great battle with Connor Mosack as we go back on board with Borchetta up the hill halfway through this race. Lawrence in front of it.
Yeah, I look at Scott Borchetta and the lines that he drives now, and how precise he is and how clean he is and consistent. He has just come light years from for me where it was great, and he's under the brakes. A little bit of a wisp of a lockup, but under the brakes.
There, and we're under caution again. Borchetta makes the move, loses out as he hops over the apex. Cameron Lawrence holds position, and now Zilic looking for a way past, but we're under caution. Connor, what are you doing? Be careful, son.
I think he saw that. I think he saw it last minute. I think he was probably wondering, why all of a sudden do I have a run on Thomas Merrill? And he's like, okay, hang on. I need to look around to make sure.
No.
Oh, no, that's Tony Ave. Hopefully everything's okay there, but that's Tony Ave. And the window net's down the door. Looks like to be off, so or, as long as it wasn't damaged. But they got Rafa stopped on the track, too, so Rafa Matos is stopped up there on the racetrack, so I don't know if he's needing a flat toe or what the case is.
Well, drama indeed, as Tony Ave is causing another caution, and as you can see, our champion-elect, Rafa Matos, is stuck out on track. And as we go to another short break, I'm afraid to say, it's curtains for Rafa.
Business needs and offer insights from over 75 years of experience. Our menu of integrated services span the entire life cycle of your building, from financing and development to design and construction to property management and maintenance. We think like building owners because we are building owners, and we work hard to assure that your building stays functional and cost-effective for generations to come.
My name is Monse, and I am a senior at Cristo Rey. We bring high school students and corporations together to transform education. I work 1 day a week at Ryan Companies. There are Christo schools serving students across the country. Visit ChristoRayNetwork.org and learn how you can become a corporate partner today.
Welcome back to the Circuit of the Americas, the home of world champions, and it was going to be the home of our new TA2 champion, Rafa Matos, but it doesn't look as though it's going to end that way. We just, before this break, saw him stop out on track as half his car was ripped off, quite literally, in the first half of this race. He tried to get out and make the best of it, make a best fist of it, so to speak, and stay out there because only needed to finish in the top 20. And the championship would be his. And in fact, just a lap or two ago, he was tied with Merrill on points for the championship. Merrill would have taken it on the fact that he'd won more races if Merrill had won this race. But sadly, that battle has now died because Rafa Matos is being towed back to the pits. And what a way, what an awful way to end a championship for Rafa.
It truly is, and I mean it's so intense on the national level. We haven't spoke much about the West Coast Championship that's also going on here, but that's also part of our story too. But yeah.
So as Rafa gets towed off, let's head down to the pits, and Ben Sissel has got Scott Lagacy.
Yeah, thanks, gentlemen. I'm here with Scott Lagacy Jr., and I got to brag on the competition here. When all that was going on with his biggest competition, Rafa Matos, he went down with blowtorches and Varabon to offer his competition some help. Connor Mosak started 33rd. He's already in 6th, and everything kind of is working out like a movie right now. Scott, what are you telling your driver?
You know, we control what we can control. You know, I mean, the kid's done such a good job evolving as a race car driver in the last 2 years into somebody that's extremely special. It's bittersweet. Going to miss him next year, but extremely proud of where he's heading, and I know he'll succeed there. So, you know, you don't want to win anything that way, right? So it wasn't much, some Barabon, but pretty proud of our M1 guys. They worked hard this weekend. Didn't feel like this was one of our best tracks, and we've had great speed, just a little hiccup in qualifying, so now we got to make it up.
Nice. Well, hold on. Stay with me here real quick because we got something cool going on here. So right here, I just saw Jeff Holden's dad. He was just standing here, but Jeff Holden is running with the West Coast Championship in an M1 car. He was just, here he is, right here. So let me interrupt you because we've got this West Coast Championship between Jeff Holden, Ken Sutherland, really close. Right now, Jeff seems to be out in front, but what's your driver saying in the West Coast Championship?
It's a little bit of a battle back there. They're rubbing and bumping pretty hard, but he's hanging on. He's just playing it safe.
And how is Ken? How is this championship? I know it's been close the whole time. How's their working out?
Looks like there are a few cars behind, maybe just one position, but there's a few cars between us.
Nice. I love it. So there's lots of fighting, lots of different storylines being unfolded right here at the end of our season here at Circuit of the Americas. Jonathan and Adam, back to you.
Yeah, Ben, and just to give you a size of the gravitas in what you just spoke about there, that is Jeff Holden's dad, and that is the entire team.
Yes, yeah, it's impressive. No, it's awfully impressive, and I'm proud that they're out here doing their thing, and we love when the two come and combine. The West Coast, you know, cats, they get to see how they stack up on the national level, and it gives us on the national level too a chance to race with the West Coast. They race at some pretty, and we do more than just this. Obviously, our West Coast swing was a part of that, but they get to race at some pretty cool cars, and this is just a sad sight to see. Is last year's champion, defending champion, had 4 fingers on the trophy, and it's still a chance. You know, this is not over yet. We cannot stress that enough. The race is not over yet. I've seen so many crazy things happen in this sport. We witnessed it here today, Jonathan Green, just with that young man, Rafa Matos, and what he's experienced. So stay tuned. There's a lot of racing left here.
There is a lot of racing. We're under caution at the moment. I'll remind you of the situation at the moment. Thomas Merrill leads this race and will go on to take the championship if he can maintain that position. Connor Zilic, though, is going to try to stop him and try to take a win for himself. Nathan Hearn is living out of his skin right now, the Aussie, giving it full jandle, as McLaughlin would have said. The Kiwi, of course. But, Goickberg, a maestro in Trans Am, as we look at Dylan Archer, who's back out on track after his spin at turn 1. But he's got some sort of
that would have been from
liquid.
overheating.
Overheating.
Yeah,
okay.
that's your pressure release. It comes out right there, so that you see it when you're overheating, so that the driver sees it. I'm sure that happened when he spun out there at the beginning, when he had when there was a collision that caused him to spin, and as Austin Green is back in, getting some tape on, and boy, that's a few rolls of that 200-mile-an-hour tape.
Yeah, it is. That's good stuff, but it's going to be tough to hold it down.
You got Earl and John here. These used to be my guys. A great group here, and Seth up front. So they're the crew on the 86. Fun group of guys. This would be Seth's daughter, Haley, there on the side. You got Slick there with the big beard trying to get more 200-mile-an-hour tape out to everyone. But, yeah, a great group here and working hard to get Austin back out on the racetrack.
Other good story, Annunciata up in 5th place. Thomas, the 17-year-old in the number 90 for Nitro Motorsports, teammate to Brent Cruz. Grew up karting with Cruz. Cruz having a tough day with problems, didn't get out in qualifying, and is a long way back from the man he needs to beat, and that's Connor Mosack. Mosack doing a good job. He's come through and is now in 6th position, but Casera all over him before this last caution. So there's so many stories. Brent Cruz currently in 16th position at the moment. So actually Brent Cruz doing it, making a good fist of it, and making a good job of staying at least close enough where at a restart or two he might be able to come through. It's been a tough weekend for Brent Cruz with physical illness and car damage as well before qualifying, which meant he couldn't go out and therefore started at the back.
It's amazing how he's pulled through, though. Like you said, P16. There's 50 cars here. Now, granted, Circuit of the Americas, if you're going to be somewhere that you're going to be buried, this is probably one of the better tracks because there are some passing zones. But at the same time, you could be, good like second half fashion, the car in front of you, and you get stuck behind, as Adrian Newey calls them, the tiddly bits.
Tiddly bits.
And you get stuck behind, and there's nowhere to go, and you're just stuck there, and you're just losing lap time there. So, they're on board with Adrian Vostowski there. Again, can't say enough about this guy. Again, he's driving a heck of a race in P11 after I said, rough year for him. Again, just looking forward to get to 2023 with that guy and start fresh. He's got a great group of people he travels to the racetrack with, become great friends of Tabitha and I, and just another awesome addition to this already awesome paddock.
Here's a good story for you. You saw the advert for Ryan Company as well. Tim Gray and Matt Gray out there. Tim Gray behind his son Matt at the moment, so we'll see if those two can battle it out in 42nd and 41st position. Dylan Archer, the man you saw with the spillage there, the overheating spillage, in 45th. Archer in that spin at turn 1. Arve sadly out of the race after that big crash, and Rafa Matos also retiring. But up the front, it's Merrill ahead of Zilich and Hearn. What a race this is turning out to be. But we've only had 16 laps. I wonder if I don't know how long the races are in Australia, but
right?
He knows he's in a race now. He's got Bathurst next weekend. Goodness gracious.
And shout out to Jeffrey Birdwell running P13 and Elias Anderson. A couple of the smaller teams, and Boris said Jr. again, bring up him and give a shout out there, doing a nice job, getting the laps in. We're 16 laps into this. I believe with all the cautions, though, Jonathan Green, we're looking at a timed affair here more than
I think you're
we're going to make
right.
it to the scheduled 30 laps.
Okay, we'll take a short break here from Austin, Texas, Circuit of the Americas, as the Mission Foods Speed Tour from Austin continues.
This is my house. My parents helped build it. Now you don't get wet when it rains. I don't get too hot or too cold inside. I can play with my sister, I can play with my brother, I can play with my mother, my father, my family. This is my house.
This is my house. This is my house.
This is my house.
This is my house.
Visit Habitat.org to find out how you can help more families like mine.
A force of nature? Man, that's good water. I feel like Chuck Norris. Seaforce water is a force of nature. What can it do for you?
Now, we've just heard that there's going to be some barrier repair as well, so we're going to have a longer delay perhaps than we were expecting a moment ago, but we're back on board with Austin Green, who's got the fast tape and taped up the front of that car. Hopefully it'll hold. But it's been a dramatic day for the Three-Dimensional Services Group. Doug Peterson watching from home. But congratulations, as you quite rightly point out, Adam, into the Hall of Fame. But this has not been a famous weekend for the team. They've done so well, so brilliant in the last couple of seasons, and Rafa leading that way, yourself included, and it's just not turned out well at all for them this weekend. Mike Skeen all the way down the field. Austin Green looking to show what he can do as the next green in line as a racing driver, and has been in 3 different cars this year, but getting a chance to run with the Three-Dimensional Services team and learn from the data of the likes of Skeen and Rafa. But he too, with Boris Said Jr., looking to make a name for himself. Boris really making a debut in many ways, and his famous dad watching on the sidelines as he's already taken a podium this weekend.
Yeah, I think they're just sitting there nice and proud watching this. Dylan Archer there in the back of the field. You know, you're chugging along because it's a long train. That's a big accordion. So by the time you get to the back there, you're really kind of chugging there. These first gears, the first gear, these are 4-speed transmissions. These still have 3 pedals, ladies and gentlemen, and an H-pattern gearbox. So this is really like old school. Yeah, old school, real racing and real driving here. And so this first gear in a 4-speed gearbox, first gear, it takes you to like 90 to 100 miles an hour.
Wow.
So, you know, when you're sitting there at 20 miles an hour, it really chugs and doesn't want to go anywhere. So so then a lot of times when even up here in the top 10, you'll scream for that pace car just to pick up the pace a little bit so that we're not chugging along and popping on the gearbox. It doesn't do anything bad. It's not hard on the equipment. Andrews supplies the gearbox for probably a majority of this field, I would say, and those things are about as bulletproof as they come. It's just annoying as a driver. You're sitting in there, it's just like, it's just jerking you around, your head around, and things like that. So you got the youngster right here up in front of Josh Sarchett. Also another BC car right in front of Adrian. This is a fight for the top 10 once we go back green here, hopefully soon with this barrier damage.
Yeah, do you ask your engineer what the holdup is now? Because right now you're probably in the sort of wondering what's going on, but they're actually repairing a barrier while we're still under caution.
Chances are I've let them know, you know, because we get a lot of information driving by it every lap.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we're about to go racing. The pace car coming into the pits past our commentary position, and we're ready to go racing again. An important restart, as there has been several times already. Thomas Merrill trying to become the new 2022 champion, almost by proxy, because Matos is out. Young Zilic behind him, and a hard-charging 21-year-old Australian making his debut here in the States, all looking for a win.
I can tell you right now, Rafa Matos is rooting for Connor Zilic and Nathan Hearn right now more than he's ever rooted for another driver in his life.
Hearn looking to the outside, then the inside, but stays in third. Now looking to the outside. Misha Goikerberg almost tapped him and turned him round, but he managed to survive that one as they head down the hill to 2. 19 of the 30 laps gone. Everybody jostling for position as they head out of 2 and under the bridge. Cameron Lawrence in a battle. And, Annunziata with a little wiggle on there as he's got Connor Mosack behind him.
Boy, these restarts are something else, aren't they, Jonathan Green? Tyler Casera hunting down Misha Goikerberg right there. Tyler Casera looks to have really good pace once they drop the green on these restarts. But he's got this pace right now. Might have a little bit more tire underneath him, as I've seen Misha really wrestle the car early on in the race. But these are 2 great drivers going at it as well. Tyler Casera, an outstanding driver here in the Trans Am Series, a perennial winner. He won earlier this year in Charlotte. And he's just trying again, like you said, Jonathan Green, finish off that season so we can see a gap opening up. Oh, that's Bruce Nesbitt. Bruce Nesbitt. My buddy Bruce. He's the inventor of the Brakeometer, the knob with the brain. And so that right there, hopefully, Bruce, everything's okay. Get that thing fired up. And we do not want to be under caution again, Jonathan Green.
I've got a feeling we will be, though, because Connor Mosack has got past the car in front of him. That was an Annunziata. So he's still making hay as Connor Mosack. He's got past the 17-year-old, the 23-year-old looking to win the Young Guns. But, of course, he's keeping a watchful eye on what happens to Brent Cruz, who's not that far behind now. I'm looking out of the corner of my eye, and I think, no, not that car, but not far behind. Cruz is not far away. We're on 19. Will we be under caution, I wonder? What a race this is turning out to be. Matos is out. Merrill is going to win the title if, and I say if, he can keep going and stay where he is. He can't get into a dogfight, though, and get knocked off the circuit, because that would ruin his hopes, too.
The dogfight's going to come from Connor Mosack, I think. Connor is pitching on Nathan Hearn right now to get that top position. I look for a dive bomb move here into turn number 1 from Connor Mosack on the young Australian of Nathan Hearn, and Nathan wins to protect. Locks up big.
That's not going to help his tyres in the closing stages, but the 29, the Australian from Melbourne, Australia, getting in big trouble from one of our top young guns, Connor Mosack. And Mosack, remember, is in contention for the championship.
Yes, he is. This is going to be a three-way battle here for the championship coming down to it, as Mosack has brought himself right back here into the mix. Nathan making a couple of mistakes there, needs to tidy that up if he's going to stay in front of Connor Mosack.
How will his tyres be after that lockup?
You know, these Pirellis, they're pretty hard compound. I think he made a flat spot on the pavement before he flat spot the tires, honestly. So, you know, that's a term my old owner, A.J. Hendrickson, used to say. I think, you just flat spotted the pavement. You're good. No, it's such a strong, durable tire that Pirelli brings here for the TA2 cars that you really can't hurt it.
Casero looking to make his move as they're very close indeed at 11. Now the chance to get into 12 and make an overtake here. Merrill trying to create a gap to second place, and he's done just that. Can Hearn get away and make a move?
Here's Zilla. Here comes Mosack.
Here comes Mosack.
And Misha. Misha popping on Thomas. Azuniata.
Yeah, they both made it. No, they haven't. Mosack doesn't make it, but
Misha does.
Goikberg, the Canadian, goes through the 10, and bodywork flying off there as he goes past Annunziato, the 17-year-old. And Casera now very close in the stadium section with him as well. But that was a good move by Misha. Not running his normal number this weekend. He usually runs the 20 or the 10.
Yeah, it looks like the 90 might have driven the rear tires off that car. He cannot get the forward bite, as we can see it right there.
Tyler Casera side by side on the exit of 18.
Oh,
something's got to give.
Boy, that youngster really hung it out there. Just he wanted to make a liar out of me.
Yep.
Said, I got rear tire left, Adam. Watch this.
This is great racing.
Yeah, and it's kind of cooled off the battle between Connor and Nathan. I tell you why. Driving and got back to doing what he was doing best, and driving out of the windshield and not driving out of the mirror, I believe. So he's doing a really good job of sorting himself out, hitting his marks, and it's going to make life pretty difficult on Connor Mosack to get that last podium spot.
Well, despite the damage to that number 90 car, he's showing no ill effects and is driving hard. Cameron Lawrence coming back into play. We go back on board with Cameron Lawrence, another former champion of Trans Am. Not had a good season, may not be racing next year for Showtime. We're not sure yet, but he could do himself a big favor by getting a good result here this weekend.
Cameron, that you're speaking of, just turned the fastest lap of the race for himself at a 2:14.1. So yeah, you're right in that observation, Jonathan Green. He is coming on.
First shot of Rhett Barco, former Rookie of the Year in that Dodge. We go back on board with the New Yorker, Adrian Lostowski.
How about Boris Said Jr.? If we started this race and said that he was going to be carrying the Peterson Racing banner, who would be believing that? But I'll tell you what, Boris Said Jr. carrying the Peterson Racing banner in P10 in that number 89.
This is a remarkable day, or it could be if Boris hangs on in there, because you're right, he's the lead car for the three-dimensional services team. He's got Lostowski behind him, who's a hard charger on the best of days, and the Hawk Performance on board, giving us great shots of Boris ahead of him. Look at this, Tyler Casera getting amongst it. Misha Goikberg just ahead. He gets ahead of Annunziato. And meanwhile, under braking, Boris Said Jr. doing the business in the 89, holding off Lostowski.
Yeah, absolutely. And Adrian is clean of a racer as they come. As he mixes, you know, Boris misses his mark a little bit there. You can't do too much of that because this guy's going to attack.
Yeah, no kidding.
You know, and it looks like Boris has got into a little bit of trouble there with the front end of the car, as it doesn't seem like any Peterson Racing car escaped front end damage this weekend.
Rhett Barco just behind them in 12th position, and then the local man, Elias Anderson, in 13th, Darren Bender in 14th, Mike Skeen up to 15th, so at least Skeen's in the hunt still in the top 15 for the Doug Peterson team.
Yeah, Mike Skeen, you can always count on him. Again, like I wouldn't put him out of the race ever at any point, and definitely using up as much track as you can, as Boris Said Jr. But
no track limits there, but it doesn't seem to affect the sort of race line, does it?
No, and you're seeing this a little bit out of Boris Jr., right? You know, Adrian's got his mirror filled up, so you're not seeing as polished of a drive out of the youngster as maybe he was a little bit earlier. So just got to really calm down, relax, and let the racing take care of itself.
Still the fastest lap of the weekend at the moment, 2:12.6 by Connor Zilic in second place, and that puts him in good stead. And the gap between the pair of them, still really nothing between them as they continue to race as hard as they possibly can. Now we're starting to see the lines of the youngster. What do you make of him, Adam?
Yeah, he's looking good through the S's. He just turned his fastest lap of the race himself at a 2:15.5. And Adrian Vlastowski is right there to 2:15.509, just slightly faster. So, you know, Adrian's going to be there for the attack. I look for Adrian to make it here really soon as we're running out of time. You know, there's not going to be much more time left in this race, as I believe there's only 8 minutes left and only 8 laps remaining, and this is about a little more than 2 minute lap to circulate, as Thomas has got a little bit of a gap now as Nathan is squirted up. Nathan Hearn has taken second place. Connor Zilic wants it back.
Well, this is great because this is exactly what Merrill wants, which is have the battle for second place, and not with him, because there's a 3-way battle for second place now, including Hearn in the middle of it, and ahead Zilic, who is the fastest lap holder, but right there is Connor Mosak. So it's all happening, but this is playing into Merrill's hands, and I thought he got a gap, but Zilic has caught it up again. But Merrill wants to play on this and wants these guys to fight amongst themselves while he puts lap in and lap out and gets in the zone and pulls away if he can.
Absolutely. No, you're right. That Christmas came early for Thomas Merrill when he looked in his mirror and saw them battling it out. And I'm guessing that Zilic, looking at his pace recovering, might have made a mistake somewhere and lost that position.
Yeah.
Might have made a mistake getting into, turn 11 there. And I think that might have cost the run down the back straightaway, because Zilic's pace seems to have come back.
So Mosak, amazingly, up to third place after what has been a traumatic and dramatic race. Rafa, if you just joined us, where have you been? Rafa Matos, the championship leader, is out of the race and is about to have to relinquish his title hopes to Thomas Merrill, who leads this race at the moment, but only just. And there's still, I'm sure, one more twist in the tail of this race before the end. But at the moment, Merrill holding on, looking for his first title in Trans Am, the man from Salinas, California, who in many ways deserves a crack at a title once and for all, because he hasn't had the luck in the previous seasons, but he's always been there or thereabouts. He's such a hard charger, and many would argue that on a different day, we all feel for Rafa, but Merrill's got his own merit, if you will, on winning this year's title.
These TA2 drivers are cutting through the S's like they're robbing a bank, Jonathan Green. I'm laughing so hard.
They stole it.
Yeah, there's no way that the stewards are ever going to stay on top of that one. That's absolutely impossible when every single car out of a 50-car field is definitely taking an inch and then some. So good on you, my TA2 friends, because that's exactly how I love to drive the S's as well.
Well, David Hoots in the drivers' meeting said, here are the limits, but we can't, obviously, there's so many cars, you can't have everything monitored. And so, hey, if you want to take a risk, you could get caught. If you want to get away with it, that's racing. That's exactly the essence of motor racing. You do everything in your power to get the advantage where possible. But if you do fall foul of the rules or whatever, then you can get in trouble. Here comes Brent Cruz.
And we missed the change for position here, too. Adrian Vlastowski got around Boris Said Jr. Boris Said Jr. is losing some spaces here to now Brent Cruz, as he's fighting hard on the outside. Going to have the inside going into here.
Good work. Nice work by Boris Said Jr.
Very
he
good.
Holds off Cruz, who's been, even though he's 14,
nope.
Look at this,
they got
cars
Mike
everywhere.
Skeen.
Here comes Skeen. He's got past. Now he's leading the three-dimensional services group. And maybe now Boris can slot in behind Skeen and learn a little bit of the craft that Skeen shows so brilliantly.
Don't you dare give Mike Skeen an inch.
No.
I promise you that. And that's what happened there. But absolutely, it's one thing to look at the data, but now to get to actually follow him. And this is what Rafa Matos and Peterson Racing is rooting for right here. Connor Zilic is coming on strong.
Yeah, the truth is, Merrill, if he wants the title, has to win, and Zilic knows it.
Yeah, he does, absolutely. And this is, that'd be kind of wild, wouldn't it? That, Silver Hair, the team that Rafa drove for the 1 year absence out of Peterson Racing, is the one that could give Rafa the chance at winning this championship. Oh, as Thomas Merrill misses the end of the S's. Just a little bit. And two Peterson cars are together with Mike Skeen and Borisset Jr. Oh, boy, I tell you, they just want to go right back to bed, I think.
If it wasn't for bad luck, they wouldn't have any. What a day this is turning out to be. And they're back at it. But here come the leaders. We started the day with Rafa Matos out front, Mosak in second place, and Merrill in third. And that's why Merrill has to win this race, is because Mosak is coming and coming fast in third position and would take the title away from both Matos and Merrill. Oh, what a twist that would be for Scott Lagasse.
This, I tell you, this is as exciting as a championship can come. And we are so blessed to be the ones that call this stuff in green.
Here comes Zilic. Merrill's got to hang on there. Less than 4 minutes to go in this race, and Zilic is pushing the 26 and trying desperately to get past the silver hair racing car, number 5. Absolutely channeling his inner Denny Hamlin here. Go on, Connor.
Yeah, Connor Zilic is, he's a go-kart champion, a world champion in go-kart racing. He's not afraid to use a little bit of the chrome horn. I've been a victim of it from Zilic from time to time. So I know he's not afraid of it, and Thomas just has to be aware of that and what could be coming. But Thomas seems like he's dropped the hammer here a little bit, opened up a gap through that complex into 19. He's got that same gap, and he's got a good gap into 20. So, turns 1 and turn 12, Jonathan Green, as you know, these are our passing points. So if he can have the gap like he's enjoying right now, going into those turns, that's going to be key.
Well, I'll tell you what, not many people know this, but Zilic, crew chief, is Jeff Gordon's old crew chief, so that bodes well too. He's with Morris Hall, of course, of the Silver Hair team. Lauren Maurice running him as they run many a young guy, including Christopher Bell and Daniel Suarez, all the way up to NASCAR. So unbelievable. White flag next time round, and Merrill is holding on for dear life now.
Yeah, Merrill went ahead and stretched this gap. He said, I've had enough of you, Connor Zilic. I'm not sitting here going to lose this championship. And I thought where he went wide there, that is Merrill's line through there. I like his line at the end of that. Says, I might have just picked something up there, Thomas. Sorry to reveal your secret, but really nice work there. He gets a good arc into the final stretch of those S's, so really good stuff there. But yeah, Thomas is wanted no part of that kid having the bumper close to him. The youngster there, Zilic, and Zilic just has not been able to answer the call of the extra half a second that Thomas reached in his pocket and grabbed.
These are tense moments for the Merrill family watching on in California. Thomas Merrill started his career at lunchtime at Laguna Seca in the sidecar, effectively, of his mum's Porsche. She used to do club racing at Porsche, and he used to hang on in the side on the passenger seat that wasn't there, and he and his brother would go out and get joyrides with her. But now he's having the joyride of his life because he's holding off a young 16-year-old Connor Zilic as he tries to stop Merrill from taking the championship. It's been an absolute amazing story for Thomas Merrill. He won't believe it when he gets out of the car either. Matos going out, and he knew, and his team will have been telling him once Matos was out, but then Connor Mosak was coming, and coming hard and fast. Zilic would not let him go the whole race. Talk about the tortoise and the hare. The silver hair of Connor Zilic has been all over him like a rash for the entire race. This race has been madness. It's been mayhem. But in other ways, it's been absolutely magic. And with one corner to go, it's going to be absolute mighty Merrill who's going to do it.
I think we had a white flag this time by Jonathan Green.
Well, I've got a feeling that it could be one more to go as well, but I'm getting excited all the same for Thomas Merrill. 41 seconds to go, and he's holding on and holding on well. There is the white flag, and I'll tell you what, it's not for surrender for Zilic, that's for sure.
No, absolutely not. This is. I mean, Thomas. I'm telling you, from a guy who's been in these TA2 cars, Thomas is driving out of his skin right now. He needs to not have the traffic right now. Bruce Nesbitt needs this to be clean. Bruce is out of the way, like a professional he is, and now Thomas can just set this down. But he is out of his skin right now. The way Thomas Merrill is driving here, it's absolutely brilliant. I'm loving what I'm seeing. He's doing a great job. This is a champion's drive by Thomas Merrill, and it's so earned and so well-deserved, and I'm so happy for this guy. He's one of the great ones in the paddock. We love him. And, again, for Mike Cope, that's, I believe, maybe the only second championship for Cope race cars coming into this. So, and they fight hard, and they fight tooth and nail every single year. And he's right here at the end.
And here he comes, Zilic for the lead, and this could be crucial for Merrill's championship. He takes it nice and wide, though, but as he goes too wide and low lost the drive. It's going to be a drag race at COTA. Classic Trans Am racing here. Not in the 66.
So right now, what Thomas is want to do is try and get a little bit of a side draft. And he's got the inside line coming in here in the 12. And Thomas is one of the late breakers, so he's not going to leave anything on the table there for Zilic.
Into the stadium section for the win, side by side. Merrill has the advantage. Zilic under braking, loses out. Merrill gets a tap and holds on through 13. What an incredible finish to this race. Merrill, the tenacity of the man, incredible. The youngster will not give up at all. And Thomas Merrill in the 26 doing everything in his power to hold off Connor Zilic. It's not over yet. Could he make one more go?
My hat's off to Connor Zilic. He had an opportunity to use the bumper to take that win, and he didn't. That was a professional move, one of the best racing moves I've seen out of Connor Zilic all year long. My hat's off. You're a professional young man. You have crossed over that path. Awesome, awesome job. No, he's too far back, Jonathan Green. This is Thomas Merrill's win. This is Thomas Merrill's championship in TA2.
Out of Andretti he comes for the last time, and he'll take the checkered flag this time. Thomas Merrill is your new TA2 champion for 2022, and he does it in such style, under such pressure. Mighty Merrill does it at COTA. Zilic was superb throughout, and a rather battered car of Hearn coming across the line now, but what a race he has. Conor Mosak takes third and will take the Young Guns trophy. Nathan Hearn is a brilliant fourth position, and I'm just wondering,
Conor Mosak had an issue. I saw him stopped in the S's at the end of this race. So Conor Mosak was not even able to make it to the finish of this race. He's barred down at 42nd. So again, you never know what's going to happen. The youngster Thomas Annunziata
is going to
come home in the podium, third place.
Oh, what a story. And Mosak, by not finishing, could lose the Young Guns to Brent Cruz.
Yeah, because Brent Cruz brought it home in the top 10. That youngster drove a heck of a race.
You've got yours up to date. Mine's not up to date. That's hilarious.
I've been so impressed by Brent Cruz and what he's done over this year. And that youngster, Connor Zilic, what he showed me at the end of this race, racing Thomas Merrill like a professional. I have to give it off to that young man right there, because he did exactly what we'd expect someone of his talent to do, and race good, clean, hard. Connor Zilic, you're the future, buddy.
Wow, let's just calm for a sec. Let's absolutely celebrate with Thomas Merrill, but let's just take a hat off to Connor Zilic for making it a superb championship winning race for Merrill by keeping him honest the entire way. Hats off to the man making his debut, 17-year-old Thomas Annunziata, who steps into the limelight for sure with a podium in his first run, but also Australia, be standing. Nathan Hearn does it. Fourth place by the man, holding off Tyler Casera and Cameron Lawrence, the former champion. Josh Sargé, another name to remember, is 7th. Goikberg drops to 8th. Lostowski in 9th. Brent Cruz does round out the top 10. And you're absolutely right, Adam Andretti. It was Conor Mosak who stole a march on me for sure and was stopped out on track. You spotted it. I missed it, but wow, that was great.
We also have something to point out here. The West Coast was going on here too, right? So we had Cody Powell on the West Coast takes the win. Michael Fine would be P2 on that, and Ken Sutherland would take P3, the podium for your West Coast. I'm not sure how the West Coast Championship ended up. We don't have our statistician putting it in our ear. Thomas Merrill, you celebrate laying those 11s, brother. That's awesome. But we'll get with you on what the West Coast Championship had, I promise you, fans, before we head out. But a great championship all the way around. But who stole the show here? Mike Cope, Race Cars, and Thomas Merrill. That HP Tuners, the Bridge Hall supported car, we are so proud. What a championship. What a blessing for us to call it. Jonathan Green.
Unbelievable. Thomas Merrill then with a fairy tale end to his 2022 season. As you rightly point out, Bridge Hall, HP Tuners, Cope Race Cars, the winners and champions. What a way to do it. Connor Zilic for Silver Hair Racing takes 2nd place, and Annunziata in 3rd place, a brilliant run by him. Nathan Hearn, the champion of Australia, and absolutely a brilliant display here in America in his debut. Tyler Casera, hard charging all day long, takes 5th in the Liqui Moly Turn 14 distribution car. Cameron Lawrence for Franklin Road Apparel takes 6th. Josh Sargé for BC Race Cars, just ahead of Misha Goikberg in 8th position. Lostowski for Hawk Performance in 9th. And Brent Cruz, after what has been a tough tough weekend for the 14-year-old multiple winner for Nitro Motorsports. Rounds out his season in the top 10. Elias Anderson, Rhett Barco, Borchetta, Slater, Skeen, Boris Said Jr. in 16th position. Not a bad run to be finishing behind Mike Skeen. Darren Mott, Bender, Prochuk, and Tom Sheehan rounding out our top 20 on what was an historic Trans Am race here at COTA. Sabato, Powell, Austin Green, Fine, Perrant, Birdwell, Abate 27, Sutherland, and that battle between Sutherland and Holden going all the way in the West Coast, and we'll go through who's where at the end of it. But Ricky Lee 30th, but all great stuff. We'll give you all the results, but tune in because we're going to hear from our new champion in a moment as he gets out, and you can see that there is a sort of body language of disbelief almost as he shakes hands with Connor Zilic after what was a brilliant, brilliant race. Well, let's savor the moment as we head down to Bart Vermey, and Thomas Merrill can't believe his luck. He is our new champion. Let's go down to
well,
Ben
ladies
Sissel
and gentlemen, Thomas, I'm having a hard time talking. I'm so excited because I think I can unofficially say you tied Rafa Matos for the points. Rafa Matos won 2 races this year. You won 3, making you the champion in 2022. How does that feel, Thomas?
Wow. That's great. Yeah. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, HP Tuners. Thank you, Mike Cope Racing. What a season. Holy cow. I can't say enough about the people around me and this team and what we fought through this year to be here. And thanks, buddy. I've wanted to win this thing for so long. It's not sinking in yet, man. That's so cool. Thank you.
Yeah, to be honest, it's like we're scripting a movie right here with everything that was happening, and I know you hate to see competitors go out like that. It was such a points battle, and to be honest, I feel like we got it. We almost counted you out in some of the pre-show. We were thinking this was going to be a Rafa show and he would run away with it, but unbelievable. And we talked even before the preseason, and you said, I want to win a TA2 championship. And right now, I can't say officially, but unofficially, you, sir, have won a TA2 championship.
I don't blame you for counting me out there. I'll tell you what, it was low pressure for most of the race. I'm thinking, hey, let's just go out and win this race. We're sitting pretty, but there's nothing we can do about Rafa. But when I saw Rafa stopped on track, then it actually became high pressure. So it was...
Hey, Coke team, get in here.
Yeah, come over here, folks.
Come on.
Hey, but full credit to Connor Zilic, man. What a driver. That kid, oh my gosh. That was one of the hardest races of my life. And the kid's, what, 16 years old? I mean, that's the future right there. Yeah, buddy. Yes.
And how crazy is it? It seems like all year you've been fighting with these young guns and the talent that's coming up in TA2. How cool.
Great job.
Hey, Perella,
So happy.
a new TA2 champion unofficially. How cool is that?
On a tiebreaker, no less I hear.
On a tiebreaker, 259 points to 259 points. Rafa Matos won 2 races. Thomas Merrill won 3. Crazy way to win a championship, Thomas.
Yeah, the camera should be showing these folks right here.
Bowser.
What?
Cope, get in here. Hey, Mike Cope. Mike Cope, jump in here.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you.
My brother.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
I love you, man. That's fucking awesome. Thank you. You're the man.
Cope, jump in here. Jump in here. I think it was Tony Buffamonte was your last championship. I know that you've brought in Thomas for the last couple of years, and you've really seen a lot of talent. You've been fighting hard for this. We've been talking almost between each race. And how does this feel?
It feels amazing. I did one of these myself in NASCAR a long, long time ago in the All-Pro Series by a point. And this guy right here is the guy that did it. All those guys over here in the shop, they're the people that do it, make it all happen. I just kind of orchestrate the circus, you know. And but this guy right here is a damn wheel man, and we're doing this for a long time together.
Thanks, man.
Hey, Cope, how about a group hug in here? Come on now. Let's have a championship group hug. Get in there, Merrill. Well, Thomas, I know this kind of just came to you, but any closing thoughts before we send it back?
How about Trans Am racing, huh? Oh my gosh. I love racing in this series. I can't wait for Sebring. It's going to be awesome.
I love it. Well, Thomas, congratulations. I'm going to send it back up to you, Jonathan, in the booth. What a race. We're about to have quite a celebration. TA2 national champions, West Coast champions, young guns. We've got a lot to declare here. So, Jonathan, back to you in the booth.
Thanks very much, Ben. Yeah, and I think Thomas Merrill summed it up. How about Trans Am Racing? A championship, the longest running continuous road racing championship in North America, does it in style in 2022. The racing today is as good as it was back in the Donahue era, back in the Pony Wars, back when they say the golden age of Trans Am was. Well, I am begging to differ. I say the golden age is today in 2022, and I've just been proved right by two fantastic runs by Thomas Merrill and Connor Zilic to put on a show that will be remembered for many years to come. A deserved champion. Our thoughts obviously go out to Rafa Matos, who had such bad luck, but has had 2 titles and will be back to take on Merrill again, and the Mighty Cope team, I'm sure. What a weekend. What a way for Trans Am to finish 2022 at the Mighty Cota. We'll take a short break. SVRA and the Mission Foods Speed Tour continues very soon.
If your tooling isn't quite ready, and you need parts, and you need more parts than just a few, or if your run is just not that big, look to the experts in low-volume production, 3-Dimensional Services. Whether it's 10, 100, or 1,000 parts, we can meet your needs. And if it's 10,000, we can do that too. 3-Dimensional Services delivers high-quality parts for short runs, 70% faster than industry standards. 3-Dimensional Services. Prototype, production, proven.